So the Lord said to Moses, Gather for me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tent of meeting, and have them take their place there with you. I will come down and talk with you there, and I will take some of the Spirit that is on you, and put it on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people along with you, so that you will not bear it all by yourself. And say to the people, Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wailed in the hearing of the Lord, saying, If only we had meat to eat. Surely it was better for us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not only 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have rejected the Lord, who is among you, and have wailed before him, saying, Why did we ever leave Egypt? But Moses said, The people I am with number 600,000 on foot, and you say, I will give them meat, that they may eat for a whole month. Are there enough flocks and herds to slaughter for them? Are there enough fish in the sea to catch for them? The Lord said to Moses, Is the Lord's power limited? Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not. The story from our reading today is one that you'll be very familiar with. God frees the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. He parts the Red Sea to let them pass on dry land, and she provides manna to eat in the wilderness and water to drink. The Israelites complained to Moses, saying, If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt for nothing. Then God says, If they want meat, I'll give them meat. I'll give them so much meat that it comes out of their nose. I'm paraphrasing, but only a little bit. I'm going to read you the actual verse. It's from Numbers 11:18-19. Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wailed in the hearing of the Lord, saying, If only we had meat to eat. Surely it was better for us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not only 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils. I would challenge anyone to read that line out loud and not smile even a little bit. And it's okay. It's not wrong to do that. It's not sacrilegious or disrespectful. It's okay to laugh at God because she's funny. That shouldn't really surprise anyone. God invented funny. God is the originator of funny, the creator of funny. This is the God who created the platypus, a creature that appears to be both a duck and a type of otter. They're mammals, so they produce milk like all other mammals, but they don't actually have teeth. They just squeeze really hard and they sweat out the milk. Can't you imagine God turning to an angel and going, hey, look what I've made. It's a duck, but also an otter. It sweats milk. And perhaps even more ridiculous than the platypus, it was God who made us, human beings, funny little creatures that we are, with our funny little ways. Have you ever bitten your tongue? It's been in the same place since you were born, but sometimes you seem to forget where it is. Tripped over your own feet, the same argument applies. They haven't moved, I haven't got new feet, they're not different feet, they're not a different size, and yet I don't seem to know where they are. Have you ever given any serious thought to the concept of being left or right-handed? I have 2 hands that are basically, barring a few scars, identical, and yet I prefer this one. In the film Dogma, there's a conversation between the main character Bethany and the angel Metatron, played by Alan Rickman. Bethany asks what God is like, and Metatron responds, lonely, but funny. He's got a great sense of humour. Take sex, for example. There's nothing funnier than the ridiculous faces you people make mid-coitus. Stories from the Bible include God making an elderly lady have a baby who is then called He Who Laughs, God demolishing a city wall with trumpets, a talking donkey. In fact, I want to pause on that one to read you the actual verse. The Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times?" Did that pass you by? The Lord opened the mouth of the donkey. God made King Nebuchadnezzar think he was a cow. God makes Ezekiel eat a scroll. And Jesus makes a coin appear in a fish's mouth to pay his taxes. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. What I'm trying to say is this: God is funny. I've been through a lot of different churches now, and a lot of different traditions. One of the few consistent features I have found is a strong tendency to take ourselves too seriously. God doesn't seem to have that tendency. God is God of joy, God of laughter, God who is funny, and God who laughs with us, and yes, God who laughs at us. There is a time and a place to be serious, and there is a time and a place for laughter. But something that deeply concerns me is how many churches and Christians I have encountered that seem to lack joy. We're supposed to be people of joy, beacons of God's joy and light and hope in the world. But I've been to some churches and found them so dreary and serious. You can't see God's joy there. It's as if nobody's told them they're going to live forever. And this isn't to do with tradition or style of service. An organ doesn't make you dreary, and a guitar doesn't make you joyful. If you want to test that theory, listen to a Radiohead song. To quote Dogma again, since I've started on the cult classics, I might as well carry on. The muse Serendipity, played by Selma Hayek, said this: "I have an issue with anyone who treats God as a burden instead of a blessing. You people don't celebrate your faith, you mourn it." I don't want to mourn my faith. I want to celebrate it. And I don't want my church to mourn its faith. I want to celebrate it. I want my church to be a place that is full of joy, to reflect a God who is full of joy. I want people to come into my church and feel joy. I want my church to reflect a God who rejoices in her creation. One of my absolute favourite thoughts ever came from the theologian G.K. Chesterton. In his classic Orthodoxy, he wrote this: "Because children have abounding vitality, because they are in spirit fierce and free, therefore they want things repeated and unchanged. They always say, 'Do it again,' and the grown-up person does it again, until he is nearly dead. For grown-up people are not strong enough to exult in monotony. But perhaps God is strong enough to exult in monotony. It is possible that God says every morning, 'Do it again' to the sun, and every evening, 'Do it again' to the moon. It may not be automatic necessity that makes all daisies alike. It may be that God makes every daisy separately, but has never got tired of making them. It may be that he has the eternal appetite of infancy, for we have sinned and grown old, and our Father is younger than we." Isn't that a lovely thought? It may not be automatic necessity that makes all daisies alike. It may be that God makes every daisy separately, and has never got tired of making them. That God takes such joy in creation, such joy in daisies, that she just keeps on making them. And I think God is calling to us. I think God is whispering to us, hey, look at this. This is a daisy. I've made billions of them. Isn't it amazing? When you ask a lot of people what their favourite film or TV portrayal of God is, I think they'd probably say Morgan Freeman from Bruce or Evan Almighty. It's a strong option. I'm partial to Mama from The Shack, but my favourite portrayal of God in any media is reserved for the film I have mentioned twice already, Dogma. Dogma is sacrilegious. It is borderline offensive. Well, I mean, I guess it is actually offensive. I just have quite a high tolerance for offence. But it hits the nail on the head more than once. God doesn't appear until the very end of the movie, after a huge and culminative fight scene outside of a church. The main bad guy is about to go through the doors of the church and end the whole world. I'm not going to explain it to you. Go and watch the film, but you've been warned. It's quite offensive. And suddenly, a blinding light comes from the church door. And you know that God is about to come through it. And a petite, brown-haired woman in a white tutu and a shiny silver jacket skips out of the church door. She skips up to the main bad guy and she boops him on the nose. And then she skips over to the grass by a tree to play in the flowers. Played by Alanis Morissette, this portrayal of God, albeit in a secular film, captures beautifully the joy and playfulness that we Christians very often miss. God who plays in the flowers, God who skips and smiles, God who created the platypus and invented laughter, God who is full of joy and playfulness, God who made you. I think it's quite worrying that Kevin Smith, who wrote Dogma, can, in making fun of us, capture a truth about God that we have failed to see. God is playful and fun and joyful. God makes jokes and plays in the flowers. And if we stop taking ourselves so seriously for a few minutes, we might be able to find time to join her. So here's my challenge for you today. As difficult as it might be right now, see the fun side of God. See the fun side of creation. See the joy. I know that to some of you, it might seem like an odd thing to say right now, considering the circumstance we find ourselves in. I know that there doesn't seem to be a lot of joy in the world, but that is exactly why I'm saying it. Now more than ever, people need to know the joy of God, the joy of creation, because God is always there, and God is always good. There is always something wonderful, always something beautiful, always something to thank God for. See the joy in creation. See the silliness of God. Take time to enjoy what God has made. Go look at the daisy. There's billions of them. They're everywhere. They're fantastic. Google platypuses. Platypi? Google what the plural of platypus is, and then click the images and have a look, and then email me to tell me what the plural is. Have a look at the pictures. They're ridiculous. Go and look in a mirror. You're hysterical. Think about why it is you like one hand more than the other. Look up at the setting sun at night and say, do it again. Marvel in our playful God and see the fun side of our Creator. See the joy, see the fun, and play with God in the flowers.